Today we've got a slightly darker presentation for you entitled Luciferian Beings Spotted on a Massive Spacecraft Holding an Artifact of Pure Negative Polarity Energy from Outside the Universe. So I'll let you look at these, what I call the Luciferian Elite Angelic Beings here for a moment. A few videos of these beings, and I hope you enjoy them. Now, to discuss the actual vision. And interestingly enough, a lot of the visions I have are fairly short, and you can get a lot out of a fairly short vision. And for those of you who are new to the channel, the way I get visions is I close my eyes in a darker, dimmer room. I kind of search the back of my closed eyelids for differences in the grayscale and patterning on the back of my closed eyelids in the dark. And sometimes I'll see lights, and sometimes I'll see shapes. Sometimes I'll see patterns emerging. When I see that, I call those seed images. I focus on them and they expand in my mind. And when you get good at it, they can expand to such a point it's like you're in a 3D full immersive movie, you know, and it actually can be much more impressive than anything you can see on the earth sometimes. So if you want to learn more about how to have those visions, go check out my introductory video. But so the actual vision, I mean, I had 2 or 3 visions related to these Luciferian elite angelic beings, and honestly, the total of the visions is probably 3 minutes or less. So, you know, you can really get a lot out of these visions. There's a lot of symbols in them. There's a lot of meaning. There's a lot to decode. But they don't have to take a long time. They can take 10, 20 minutes sometimes, but all this was from 3 minutes. And maybe a minute here and a couple more visions, so maybe 5 minutes total. But so basically, how did the vision go? Well, the first thing I saw similar to what you see here created by the AI. I saw a gigantic spaceship, like an epic spaceship. It was like the size of California or something. You know, it was a state-sized alien spacecraft. And it was flying over a large alien planet. The planet had a few different colors, kind of deserty, but also a little green, a little blue, some gas. And the weird thing about the spaceship, besides its massive size, and it also was pretty flat. It was like a flat spacecraft, or dimension craft, or mind craft, or whatever you want to call it, or astral craft. The weird thing about it was that it was like partially cloaked. Like all the rest of the vision came in clear, but the spacecraft was kind of blurry and coming in and out of vision. And to me, that suggests a cloaking craft, and I've seen those before. So check my earlier videos. And what that actually means on a symbolic sense, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it means it's coming from a deeper part of the mind that I can't quite perceive as well as the rest of the vision. Or maybe it's just a part of the vision protecting itself from my perception, you know, trying to hide from the conscious mind that is trying to perceive it. Probably both, actually. But so we've got a state-sized spacecraft over a large planet, partially cloaked. Now, the next thing I saw was I kind of zoomed into the spaceship, and then it was just a massive spaceship, and my gaze was directed to kind of like a secret chamber deep within the center of the spacecraft. Like, I would never have been able to find it if I had to find it on my own, but the vision took me right to it. So deep inside the spacecraft were a very small contingent of genuine Luciferic elite angelic beings. There was I don't know, I only saw 5, and I sensed there might have been no more than maybe 8 of them in total on the whole ship. And they were kind of sitting around a table, and it looked like they were very serious, very deep in thought, planning. They looked very intelligent. They looked very elite, like they were perhaps royalty. And plus the fact that there's an entire spacecraft the size of a state, and there's one small room with this contingent of these angelic Luciferian beings. And those terms are not actually impossible to use together, because we could be talking about fallen angels here. Remember the angels, Lucifer was a fallen angel. And why do I call him Luciferian? Because while I was seeing them in this room, the word Luciferian or Lucifer came in my head. So there you go. That's why they're called Luciferian. It was odd that that happened, but it happened. And what did the beings look like? Well, you saw them. You saw a few of them anyway in the last video that I showed you here. But they had very long, curling, like high-tech horns. They weren't actual horns, but they were like constructions. So they kind of looked like a ultra-modern, high-tech version of like a demonic entity in a high-tech suit. But they weren't acting wild and crazy like you would expect from like a mindless, angry, demonic being like you might find in a video game, like Doom or something. But they looked much more calculated, intelligent, rational, elite, even royalty. Like not just royalty of a species, but like royalty of the universe. They really looked. They gave off that aura of being some of the elite beings in the entire universe. And just reporting to you what I see. I'm not making value judgments on what I saw. Then the next vision I had lasted about a minute after that. Was in a heavily shielded and protective chamber sealed off from the rest of the ship was a portion of pure negative energy matter potentially from outside the universe. It was so different from universal material. It seemed like it could only have been from a place outside of this universe. And it was clear to me that the angelic Luciferian beings were definitely involved with the fact that this ship was carrying this like void black pure negative essence material within it that was potentially from outside the universe. And that's the primary reason they were on the ship. Now, where were they going on this ship? I don't know. Why did they have the material? I don't know, but I have some interesting theories coming up here. So first, let's talk just a little bit about the Luciferian elite angelic beings. Again, they gave off this aura of being an extraordinarily elite group, elite on a universal scale, as I said, not just commanders of the ship or something, but like the whole ship. They were so elite, most of the ship weren't even aware that they were on the ship because the secret wasn't to be given away. That was my impression. Again, 5 to 10 of the beings in the ship. I probably guessed around 8. I only saw about 5. Long twisting horn helmets. Black, dark red, and neon red color scheme appeared demonic in a high-tech sense. Very focused, intelligent, powerful, very dedicated, very mission-oriented. They clearly had a cause. Clearly related in some way to the pure negative polarity energy material. And interestingly enough, at a symbolic sense, now everything that I see in these visions undoubtedly has separate realities. Like in one sense, they're really alive within the deep mind astral plane doing their thing. But at the same time, since they're constructed out of the symbols in my own mind and translated back to my consciousness, they may represent symbols of deeper concepts at the same time. They're very complex things, like they're multiple things at once. They have a reality on their own. They also have a symbolic reality within my own mind, and that is applicable to my own life. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with these visions. They may actually represent very high order evolutionary potential of the psyche. And why is that? Well, it gets pretty deep. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first we need to introduce the pure negative polarity essence substance. Now, it appeared looking basically like what you see there that the AI created. It was kind of a large donut-looking structure, but it was like void black, no color whatsoever was coming out of it. This one here is reflecting light from around it. This image, the real image, there was no color. It was just pure black, like blacker than black. Colorless, very void-like, in the shape of a donut or very large tire or an inner tube. I know that doesn't sound exactly impressive, but I mean, that's the shape it was in. Very potent, as suggested by the way the material was being contained. So they had a whole ship the size of a state, plus some of the elite beings in the entire universe. And it was all just to contain and to watch and to transport this, relatively small sized chunk of pure negative polarity essence substance. So I was seeing a very important event in the universe and in the astral plane. And the astral plane is part of the universe. So I'm not just talking about the astral plane, I'm talking about the whole universe. Otherwise, not much is known for certain. That's what I know right now. But and here's a picture I actually drew of what I saw. It's not using the AI. As you can see, the AI did a decent job of showing what I saw. But it was kind of almost in a small kind of way, like a Star Wars type thing. Like it was in a sealed off chamber, like in a Death Star or something. That's kind of what it looked like. And there are no people in there, or no technicians, or no guards. No one appeared to be allowed in this room. Now, to actually look at this pure negative polarity essence material from a philosophical and symbolic and representational sense is what really makes this particular vision interesting to me, and hopefully you guys find it interesting too. By the way, because I'm doing a slightly dark video today, I decided to break out the Disney haunted house shirt, so I hope it's not too dark for you guys, but there we go. Don't have many occasions to wear this one. So what was I thinking about this? It took me a couple of days to really consider this pure negative polarity essence material and what it might mean on a symbolic and representational sense, and how that might be applicable to my life and outlook and future. And also what it would mean at the level that it's being represented on the astral plane as a reality. So pure negative polarity material has very significant symbolic potential. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word, but apophatic word that basically means describing via negation. So you describe something by the characteristics that it does not have. And in this case, that's really the only way to describe what this particular pure negative polarity essence material actually is, and what it's all about, and what its purpose is. You can't really say that. What you can say is what it isn't, based on what's known. And one of the things that I know that it isn't something that can be directly perceived by at least my conscious mind right now. That's why it appeared as what it appeared as. It appeared as a placeholder, in a way, like a void material that has a lot of potential and a lot of power. That's clear, but there's no way for me to actually perceive it. My mind has not reached a level where I'm capable of perceiving that. And that's a real interesting point to me, because it means a lot of things. Because that is the case, it may represent that which is incapable of being imagined or predicted. In that way, it could represent pure chaos, because if you can't imagine it or predict it, it's like an embodiment of pure randomness, or the pure unknown, and the creation of something out of nothing. And also, the chaotic element of the universe. It breaks through all barriers. That's another thing I should have written down here, is that symbolizes something that can break through any barrier, no matter how strong, any barrier in the entire universe, if it's used correctly. Again, it may represent pure chaos and or randomness, so that may represent evolution, in the sense that evolution creates that which does not exist and perhaps cannot be imagined until it is created. And I was reading some philosophy in the last week or so. What was the book called? I can't pick up my phone to look at the name, but it was by Nick Land, and it was called, let me see if I can find it on my computer. I don't want to get the word wrong, the title wrong. Oh, Nick Land, Xenosystems. Now, I don't necessarily agree with his political stance in particular, and I may or may not agree with his philosophy and or particular parts of it, but I recognize a really intelligent guy and some really provocative ideas when I see it. And that book is full of extraordinarily powerful ideas, and they could be applied in different ways to different areas of life. So it's worth a read if you guys haven't looked at that. And he's the guy that's known as the father of accelerationism. I don't necessarily agree with his politics. I don't know yet, really. I have to read more of him, but this book is something else. He presented this idea in a video that I watched before I decided to get his book, and it was this idea that the future may be so strange we're incapable of perceiving what that future is going to look like. Like, we literally can't imagine what it's going to be like when AI gets really powerful and a technological singularity might occur. It's beyond our capability to perceive until it happens. And in a way, this pure negative polarity essence material seems to represent that sort of thing. And it's a good sign, honestly, because it means there's something more amazing that can be outside of what I can imagine. So if we're going to take this on a symbolic level, this can be taken on multiple symbolic levels. It can be taken on a symbolic level to the universe, to human society, to all of you, to me. If we're looking at it from my perspective, and this would apply equally to anyone else, I think, is that, I'm only capable of becoming or perceiving so much locked within the particular mental, psychic, spiritual, sociocultural, power, economic system that I'm stuck in right now. But there is the potential for something massively greater and massively different and massively stranger that I can't even perceive yet. And if I can find a way to manifest or access that, I really break through and access my potential to evolve into a new form. And it's the same with a society. It's the same with a group. It's the same with the universe, even if you want to go to that level. Really deep concept. So even though these are perhaps fallen angels that are transporting this negative polarity essence material, the message seems to be extremely important, and the potential of this material seems to be extremely great at many different levels. It may represent genuine and important potential for advancement of an individual in ways they cannot currently perceive. So it's beyond my levels of comprehension until it happens, but my levels of comprehension can increase and my possibilities can increase, and I can make this sort of thing happen. And when it happens, then I'm going to perceive it. And it also strongly suggests, I had another vision, and also a strong implied communication, is that if you actually want to access this type of material, this stuff that doesn't exist in our universe but could, you need to build a container that fits the negative space of where it would be or what it would be. So if you're an artist and you understand the concept of negative space, kind of the image that occurs in between the actual images that you draw, it's sort of like if you want to attract this pure negative essence, polarity essence material, you need to create a negative space object that provides a vessel or a framework within which this negative polarity pure essence material can flow and then manifest. And honestly, a fascinating whole book on magic focused on that particular principle could be written, and I may do it if I get a couple more visions that teach me a little bit more about that, because that interests me enough to write. So, and there we go, we got that on the next page. The creation of a negative space container perhaps works to summon pure negative polarity energy, universe, even beings. Build a space for something that is desired, that is entirely composed of negative space, and potentially describe that thing for what it is not, because you cannot describe it for what it is. So there we go. You have the presentation on the Luciferian elite angelic beings, some of the royalty of the universe that I saw in one of my visions. Hopefully I'll have more visions of this particular group. This one really interested me. Hopefully it interested all of you. If you're new to the channel and you find this interesting, definitely subscribe. And we'll see you at the next video. Thank you.